Hey guys, so I wanted to talk real quick about E.A. Hanks. That's Tom Hanks' daughter. Um, she is his daughter from his first marriage with Susan Dillingham. Um, that's also the mother of Colin. Rita Wilson is the mother of Chet. We all know Chet. We know Chet Hanks, and a younger son, Theodore. And so she has a new memoir coming out, and it's about her mother, who was neglectful, emotionally abusive, and physically abusive. So it looks like there was mental health issues. I believe she was diagnosed as bipolar, but there's issues there. And she says that her mom was awarded custody after the divorce with Tom Hanks, but Tom Hanks, he stayed present in his kids' lives, and eventually he had to go fight for custody as the abuse got worse. And it's sad. It's an incredibly sad reality, but I think it's very important. I will say, like, the news articles, they kind of make it seem like the way they do the heading, it makes you think like Tom Hanks was abusive and he's cool with this, but it's actually about the mother who wasn't, it was the first wife. And books like this are important to be published because working in the mental health field, you learn that that is very, very common. It's doesn't matter the economic status. Obviously poverty affects it. Um, so I think everyone thinks like, okay, a broken home, it's probably like, okay, you're poor. Um, Different racial backgrounds in different areas, but it's so common. It's so common, and it's a lot of it is happening in your own backyard. Granted, they live in California. Um, I did my internship with Catholic Charities ICMS, Integrated Case Management Services. So, if you have had frequent hospitalizations due to suicidal thoughts, attempts, breakdown, threat to yourself, threat to others, you would be hospitalized at one of the state hospitals in New Jersey. And if you've been there for a while, if you've had frequent hospitalizations, when they release you, you are referred to ICMS in whichever county you reside in, and their goal is to get you established in the community. So you'll have a case manager anywhere from 12 months to 18 months. Sometimes it can be longer, sometimes it's shorter. But the whole point is just getting you established. Do you need your license? All right, let's go take care of that. Do you need to look for a job? Okay, we can link you to a division of vocational rehabilitation services. Or we can link you somewhere where we can get you some help for your resume. Do you need food items? We can link you to a food pantry. We can link you to food stamps. We can link you to all these different community resources to try to get you stable in the community and try to get you to not be rehospitalized, because a hospitalization for a single person, I think it runs up a bill of like 400,000. Like it's incredibly expensive. So not only is it better for the person, also, let's be honest, we live in a world where money counts. It's also beneficial to the state to have you not be hospitalized and to have you be established in the community. And I've had to read psych evals, and it was very heartbreaking for me. In the beginning, I would just cry. I didn't have the skill set on how to maneuver, and I had to talk to my supervisor Zeely, who's like an amazing person. She's so lovely. I couldn't have asked for a better supervisor. And I had to be like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to manage this? How am I supposed to maneuver through reading all these very heartbreaking stories? And she gave me advice on how to compartmentalize, how to you just leave that there. don't take it home with you. She gave me a lot of tips and tricks. Um, and as you're reading it, you unfortunately see how frequent abuses, you see how common fractured families are, you see how often divorce goes south, you see how often kids are pit against another parent, you see how often sexual abuses, emotional abuse, any type of abuse. And you also see that so many people lack the necessary skill sets to maneuver through having a child, having a relationship, building a family. You see how common it is for court systems to award children to the mother, even if the mother is not in a position to care for the child. You do see that. So I think it's very important that E.A. Hanks is talking about this. Yes, she is able to do this because she's Tom Hanks' daughter, and obviously his celebrity, his stardom, um, helps make it so she can publish this book. But I think that that's really important. I think that that's great. I think we need more stories like this. It's not meant to demonize the mother. I think I'm going to get the book and review it and make a couple videos on the book, because there's a part in the article where she says she finds writings about her mother's childhood, and so I'm sure that her mother was also victimized. It's usually what happens. It's a cycle, and it takes a lot to break the cycle. And there's a moment where she says this is what it was like to love her and to fear her. And that's the reality when you're not able to cope with your trauma, and when you're not able to cope with your abuse, when you're not able to cope with any mental illness or mental health issues, the reality is that you can hurt other people. Now, I do not say this to mean that people should stigmatize people with mental illnesses or mental health issues or who have been traumatized. Statistically, people with mental illnesses are still more likely to be victims of physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. That still stands. But I think that is frequent in parent-child relationships. It's very frequent, right? And I took a community psychology course, and I loved my professor. She was awesome. She was so funny. She just had a very, she just had a way about her that was really cool. And she pointed out, she would do evaluations in custody disputes for the court system. And she got tired of it because whatever she said kind of went out the window in terms of the parents and in terms of the judges. So she got sick of it. It was really heartbreaking. And she also noted, she's like, why do you think there are so many adults that are neurotic, that are anxious, that have low self-esteem, that are insecure? Look to the parents. Look to their dynamic. Look to how they interact with each other. And it's very, very heartbreaking. And per our community psychology course, there was a section that talked about how much positive outcomes came out of having parenting classes, came out of doing incremental therapy at certain stages in the family's life. But there's not a big budget for it. And even though these are evidence-based practices, it's shown to work. It shows how it improves the community. It shows how it improves life for everyone. It shows that it saves the community a lot of money because you're avoiding problems further down the road. There's just not a lot of dollars that are being invested in it. And I think it's important for this book to come out to show other people who've been in that situation that they're not the only ones, that there are people who have a famous actor as a father, and they were still victimized and they still had a rough go about it. You know, I think time and time again in these videos it's going to come up. Having a lot of money, having stardom does not protect you from any of this. And it shows how general knowledge or a lot of basic skills are just not being taught to people, right? How much better could public school be if, we used to have home economics? So, bring, I think that would be great. How to cook, how to wash your clothes, but also how do you communicate with people? How do you handle conflict? How do you build up empathy? How do you build up compassion? How do you put boundaries? You know? And I think it's important too because I think the court systems need an overhaul. They should rely more on skilled counselors and skilled professionals to accurately assess the parents' behavior, to accurately assess how they interact with the children. And they should go from there and not just go, oh, okay, well, because women are the caregivers, we're just going to default and give the child to them. There is I didn't know what this documentary was. Because I go through phases in my life, and there was a phase where all I did was watch documentaries. And there was one that was called Dear Zachary. I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed throughout the whole documentary. I didn't know. I had no idea, and I'm watching it. I'm like, okay, what? And I won't spoil it if you guys want to watch it, but be prepared. It is awful. It is bleak. It is dark. It is brutal. But part of the reason why it's so bleak and dark and brutal is because the judges and the family court system failed profusely. And I think these are things that should consistently and constantly be illuminated. So I'm happy that she's being able to talk about it. She also stated that for her parents are Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson, which is really, really lovely. Rita Wilson always seemed like a kind, genuine person. Because think about that, having her own kids with Tom, she's raising them, and then when the issues are going on with Tom's first two children, she just bring them here and she just included them, and she was able to create a relationship with them. That's very, very lovely. That is something else that burns my biscuits and makes me disgusted is when, listen, if children are involved, put your ego aside, put your BS aside. It's not about you. Figure it out. Go get some therapy. But there is no reason that step parents should be anything less than welcoming, kind, and loving towards their stepchildren. If you don't have that in you, do not marry and do not get involved with someone that has children from a previous marriage. Very simple, very easy. There's a lot of fish in the sea. Go figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Don't do that. Don't do that. And likewise, I will say, I will use this example. I'll say, for example, Angelina Jolie. Whatever happened with Brad and them, whatever issues, okay. But I saw an article that said her kids don't interact with Brad's parents and his extended family. Now, it is possible to get mediators involved, and it's possible to get the court involved, where you say, hey, I want you guys to still have a relationship with the kids, but whatever, if it was an abusive situation with Brad, I don't want him around when they're with you. This is what I want. I know that he's your son. Do you agree to this? Now, if they choose to not agree, Or if they're being weird and they're calling Brad and doing all that, okay, I understand. But to just cut off his entire family, that's not good for the kid's development. I don't agree with that. You know, um, because it biologically, spiritually, emotionally, all of that. It's important for kids to have a relationship with both their parents, or at least to have some. Now, there are people who go no contact. I understand that. But that was a decision they made for themselves. It wasn't something that was pushed onto them by another parent or by somebody else. It's different when it comes from you. It's not okay when it comes from outside forces, you know? So, these are all things that I think about. And like I said, I think it's really good that this big book is coming out there, and for anyone who's had to deal with that, children of divorce, uh, people who've had to deal with emotionally immature parents. Um, I hope that you guys have been able to do some healing, and yeah, anyone that's in a custody dispute or anything like that, please don't hesitate to get licensed professionals involved. And it's okay if you feel like that person doesn't fit and you go find somebody else, but be open to being told that you're wrong. Be open to being told that you are letting your feelings dictate the situation and you're not making decisions that are best for your child. Be okay with that. Okay? Cuz it's not about you in terms of them. When you want to deal with your stuff, you could go get a separate therapist. Um, when kids are involved, it's about them because they are truly innocent in the situation, and your behavior, in a couple years you could dust that off. Let's be honest. In a couple years you can dust it off. You can figure it out. But for the kids, because of the developmental stage that they're in, they will not be able to just dust that off. It will take time and energy and effort to undo whatever went down there. So that's just some food for thought, and just something that I wanted to talk about in terms of mental health. But I hope you guys are doing well, and I'll talk to you soon.